Hi everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, where I am currently not in my usual setup at home with my fancy camera and my lighting source, my TV next to me. I'm not there right now. I am elsewhere in the world. Can't talk about it right now, but before I get to that, we're still doing Nancy Drew reviews. I am not giving up. I'm a little bit late this week because the location I'm at does not have a valid cable signal. So with that being said, I had no choice but to watch it on the CW app because, I've been promoting it ever since the season started for both Nancy Drew and Walker. So with that being said, I did had to say around in the morning. So I woke up at, I believe, 8 a.m. in the morning where I am, and I had to finish that. And then I had to wait for an opportunity to record this. So I apologize if this is not the best quality. I apologize it's not the normal setup. We will be back next week with our normal setup. But until then, let's get down to it. So this week on Nancy Drew, it kind of felt like more like an old-fashioned mystery, something that I kind of was kind of like when we were starting off the series last time. It was very much like that was my intention, and then when we got to the whole Tiffany murder and then the Lucy overall mystery, that's kind of what was very, it was something that I wanted the old-fashioned approach, but we didn't get that. This we kind of felt like it, and once again, in terms of just my shows playing tricks on me, it subverted my expectations, and I think it worked out in the best, as well as not to too over popularize the I don't know how to say it, but it just not to fall into that trope so quickly. I do believe we will get those at some point, but this definitely had the feeling of like this is just a one-off mystery, part of a bigger narrative, which I do respect. This kind of felt more like so this is kind of like the thing I loved about the first set of episodes we got was that the whole Drew crew was together. We were getting those dynamics with the group, with everyone, and then we had the smaller storylines. When we began for this episode, we kind of like we split up the cast again, which honestly, usually I would be complaining. Like I'm watching Riverdale like in the last 3 years, and they did that with the characters. I hated that shit. But since we've already seen the cast together for so long. It was perfectly natural for them to start spending some time away from each other, and the dynamics between certain people and continuing those storylines were very much something that I was very much interested in seeing. So that being said, let's get through the butchered recap and talk about the episode. So this will be a much more shorter butchered recap since I'm currently recording this on my iPhone. So I'm not quite sure how long this will go for. I kind of want to get this done in one recording. So anyway, let's get down to it. So we begin this week's episode with we're at a motel looking thing from Horseshoe Bay. We got a couple cheerleaders from a local college that are kind of hazing or trialing out their newbie recruit into spending 1 hour in the most haunted room in the hotel. And while they were doing that, she obviously, of course, scared shitless, urban legend, that sort of thing. And not even like 2 minutes into the thing, she's already screaming, she's already yelling, it's already being very concerning for her. And then the other three cheerleaders are like, no, that's fine. Oh no, not cheerleader, volleyball members. They were already like, no, she's fine, don't worry, she's just playing around. And then I believe like a minute in, they realized like we need to check up on her. So they did, and then they figured out that, oh hey, she's gone. She's gone. And it's like, oh my god, like how the hell does a ghost take away that someone like that so quickly? Anyway, so then we come back to the next day. Nancy's beginning her first day as a part-time PI for her dad's firm, and her first assignment is just to organize the files and financial statements from a divorce case that Mr. Drew's tackled on. Not entirely the exciting stuff Nancy was kind of hoping for, and that's kind of bummer out. But of course, Mr. Drew trying to fix the situation. He resumes the storyline about Nancy going to college. As remembered, the whole premise of the show began when Nancy was going to go to college, but then because of her mother's death, and then her just like losing her identity, and then, well, not losing her identity, like then not being herself anymore, it very much became clear that like, yeah, Nancy has no interest in going to college. So she was very so now right now with everything that's happened in season 1 and then beginning portion of season 2, she's still not quite sure if she wants to go to college. Maybe she just wants to stay in Horseshoe Bay for a while longer, since she's dealt for so much in the last 3-4 months that like maybe no one's going to accept this version of Nancy Drew right now, which she does have a point. But Mr. Drew said, look, I'm here if you want to, whatever decision you want to make, I'm going to support you. And if you do decide to go to, like, in this case, Columbia, NY, I'm rocking it. What was I going to say? Yeah, so she thinks about it, but she throws the brochure in the trash, indicating like right now she has no interest to do that. So she starts to head back home. Meanwhile, George is still trying to figure out how to get rid of the Odella side effect of her resurrection. She's still trying to fix that. She was trying to perform a ritual, which doesn't work. As well as she's kind of pushing Nick away, since she doesn't want him to know right now, since he's already dealing with enough on his plate. And meanwhile, not really much going on with Ace and Bess this week. They're kind of just supporting roles again. We do get a little bit more, like, slight development, but like they don't really do that much this week. Nick is concerned for George, but he has another meeting to attend to, so he leaves off. George and her they don't really share a scene together this week, which is perfectly fine. I think they've held so much focus in the last few episodes, and like, okay, we can take a little bit of a break with those two. George is actually relieved that Nick's not around, so they could just focus on so George can just focus on trying to get rid of the thing, Adela, which is her priority right now. But of course, obviously, we'll see how that goes. So this is kind of where we start diverging the storylines. Nancy's at home. She's kind of getting through the financial records, and then the three teenage girls somehow find her address on Twitter and on the records. So I'm just curious, like, wait, how the fuck did y'all, like, it's kind of creepy that, like, yeah, I know it's a small town, but I'm like, privacy is privacy. I mean, I don't know what's going on. So moving onwards. So they asked Nancy to take on the case because it's the supernatural component, and considering the fact Nancy just defeated the Iglaria and the other thing from last week. So Nancy's up for it. It seems like this is something she really needs. That she doesn't want to take on the boring stuff right now. She needs something exciting going on, so she calls in Ace to meet her at the hotel. And also apparently the twin sibling from the premiere is apparently now working there. Apparently she's now, I don't know if they ever stated if she did entirely work there at the start, or she's just new there to kind of just validate herself after the events of the premiere. But it seems like her and Ace are getting along fairly close. So like, ooh, Ace got like a real romantic interest, not like that whole forceful best thing from the premiere, if anyone remembers that. So moving onwards, Nancy and the three volleyball team members meet up with Ace. They head to the room. It seems like there's enough evidence to indicate that this may not be a paranormal thing, since a lot of things don't really add up to a paranormal activity. I mean, yeah, there's the urban legend of like someone died in there, so to speak, and they did find one of the windows had like blood on it, but it turned out to be kind of like an automatic blood thing, which is kind of weird and stupid, but whatever. So they bounce back. They head back over to Nancy's house, where they're starting to like maybe look at what ghost could it be, what kind of like what the person could be, like doing the typical supernatural paranormal steps. And then I believe, where do we go? I think I know Nancy gets a call from someone. I think she just gets a lead that like, yeah, something might be up here. So she decides to return to the hotel room, since she's not really getting much progress on the reading front. So she calls in Bess and George, which once again, Bess and George, they don't care. They're going to leave. They're going to go meet up with Nancy at the hotel. My only question is if Nick, which we'll get to his storyline in a second for the week, how are they keeping the freaking place open? There are the only 3 waitresses on staff. Nick's the manager. He's gone. Ace is, I'm pretty sure he wasn't even working that day. Like, who is running the freaking restaurant? There is no other waitresses. I would love if we somehow get to 100 episodes of Nancy Drew, where we just see them just do like having a side episode just featuring how the fuck is that place operated whenever they're not around. That would be a fun episode. Will they ever do it? I don't know. Just take my idea, Nancy Drew writers. Anyway, so Ace is in charge of handling all these women, but he has to call in Nick, who meanwhile he's meeting up with Ryan, resuming that storyline from like a couple of episodes ago, of the whole Aglaria, of the whole taking on the Hudson thing that Tiffany had that kind of led to her inadvertent death last season. So she's recruiting. So he already recruited Ryan, but it's been 2 weeks since, of course, with the whole Aglaria thing, and then taking some time off. Ryan is on board on trying to take down his father and the entire everything he's done negatively. But however, of course, obviously, there's a lot of missing evidence. There's a lot of like things that that is not reaching, like they're not connecting well, so there isn't really much they can do on that front. However, Ryan is still very unsure if he wants to take the full direction in there. But however, he just leaves Ace and leaves Nick. And it's like, look, let me figure this out. I will be back. Just give me a little bit more time. And then that's when Nick gets called in by Ace to help babysit the freaking. Like, here's the thing. Like, it's not really babysitting because like they're all the same age, and that's the thing I just realized. Because I thought they were high schoolers, but no, they're college. They're like college freshmen, college sophomores, and like they're the exact same age as the Drew crew. And I initially thought, like, I'm actually surprised, and I'm gonna spoil a little bit. I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit. Like, they did not honestly explore anything like them trying to seduce Ace or Nick or anything. That was not like that. And again, that could be like me thinking a little bit more old-fashioned, where it's like you got three attractive, like, you know, young women's with an attractive young man of the same age. Like you would assume something would go on, but that's the wonderful thing about Ace and Nick is like they're both so committed to their characters that are like, nope, that's not them, and even they know, like, no, that's not what they're gonna do. They act like kids, like, you know, they're just roaming around Nancy's house trying to make some food, failing to make pancakes. I'm like, Jesus Christ, they need to go to a home ec class or just something of that nature, or look up YouTube videos or something. So anyway, moving back, yeah. So they're handling things. So, but meanwhile, Nancy, Bess, and George are off back in the hotel room where they were before, trying to find something they can use, and they didn't really find anything they can use until Bess talks about and the Marvin estate. There's they were serving quarters, like secret entrances, so that the public wouldn't know that, like, hey, we have people living in our quarters, or they have servants. So she finds one by accident. They go in there. They find some remnants of the clothing that the girl had, and then they find a dumbwaiter. So they head back down there. They find more clothing remnants of her, and then they look around the basement. They're not really finding anything, and they find the secret compartment full of blood and, you know, transfusion, the needles. But before they're able to proceed any forward, they get caught by the owner, who immediately just tells them to get out, scram. Nancy notices a camera, and then she just put pieces together like there's nothing paranormal or murderous about this, because the paranormal side of things just doesn't add up, as well as for a murder type thing, it wouldn't add up, considering the fact the owner just would have kept them there to prevent a secret. So there wasn't really anything to hide. So they're starting to realize it's not what it seems, but they still need to figure out what the girl left. So she goes back to the woman that she helped out in the pilot, the receptionist now. She goes up to her and like, hey, can I get access to the security footage? And she's like, nope, can't. Boss has password, can't do it. So Nancy's like, okay, well, she also notices that the computer is like acting very slow, so she calls in Ace to come and fix things, and Ace uses this opportunity like, boosh, I'm out. And then Nick's like left all alone. Well, also he gets the news that Ryan's apparently, also another thing about Ryan, he goes up to meet with Mr. Drew as once again a client privilege confidentiality, where he wants to enact a clause where technically, if Ryan was to get kicked out of the company, or of the will, or the transfer of power, his heir would be the next to take this place. But of course, obviously, to the Hudsons, they don't know he has an heir. But in reality, we do know it's Nancy, and Ryan fears that if Nancy was to take control of Hudson Industries, she was going to burn that thing to the ground. Not because she couldn't run it, but because she just basically hates them. So, which honestly is a valid point. So, to proceed forward with this, so they agree. So they both agree like there's nothing they could do on that front. But they both him and Mr. Drew agree that they need to keep Nancy out of this, or Nancy's true lineage cannot be figured out by the Hudsons, otherwise she's going to get killed, which obviously is very ominous foreshadowing. Then moving onwards, we get just a side thing. Nick's being concerned about George, and George's not picking up his calls. Obviously, she's dealing with a lot. Nick is basically just worried about things, and the girls even try to help him. It's like, this is not really going anywhere. It really isn't. Also, just to finish off the Nick and Ryan storylines that I just don't bounce back and forth. Yeah, after the whole mystery solved for the day, for the week, Nick goes up to confront Ryan, which initially he's pissed off, but Ryan admits that the only reason why he's rejoining the Hudson industry, not just as a goodwill to his father, as well as believing in him, it's also because he needs to get close to him to find out the information he needs to defeat him and put him in jail once and for all. So, which is honestly a very fair strategy. Will he actually commit to it? I don't know. We'll see how that goes. So then, following that, we get, yeah, so we head back to the hotel. Ace is flirting as well as hacking his way into the hotel's computer, which he does get the video footage for, which gets transferred back to Nancy and the other girls. And while they're viewing this footage, they figure out that, yeah, no, it wasn't the owner, it was another woman who found the girl, and they're really concerned considering the fact when the girl turns around, it turns out to be George. Meaning that it wasn't George entirely, but it was Odette in George's body that was taking over. So now they're realizing, what the hell did George do? What's going on? Then George has to admit to her, then finally for the first time since she figured it out, like, hey, no, Odette's inside me now. She takes control sometimes, she appears sometimes. So now they're trying to figure out, what the fuck are we gonna do? Because, like, you know, they got a spirit trapped in there, and you know they already resurrected George. So like, what else can they do? But right now, that's a problem for another day. They're focused on finding out where did the girl go, and so they try summoning Odette with various other weird things. Nancy has the bright idea to, like, let's burn one of the leftover letters we had from the episode 4 to see if that could trigger her, which works. She briefly comes out for a little bit, and she reveals that, hey, by the way, yeah, she's sleeping with the Hounds, which is very ominous and creepy. But then once George comes back to reality, they kind of figure things out because they track George's phone throughout the night. It turns out, no, she doesn't mean she actually killed her. It was only because she dropped her up at a station that's also called Hounds, which is like... Bus stations have literally the weirdest freaking names ever. So Nancy goes off to go meet with her. She explains the whole thing. They have a very deep conversation about, like, college and future, which is also parallel to what Nancy's going through right now, since the girl is basically like, college is not what I expected. This is not kind of what I wanted, considering I worked my entire life for this moment. Here I am, and it's entirely not what I want, so my life kind of is a waste right now. And Nancy tells her the same experience about how, like, you know, high school senior year, she fucked up a lot because of everything that's going on in her life. Now she's so different and damaged, and it's like, does any college want her? And, you know, they're both figuring things out together, and then it's enough to, like, actually convince her to, like, come back with the other girls, because she was actually planning on, once she found out that the Odette George was not going to kill her and dropped her off at the station, she knew, like, there's a fact that, like, she didn't want to leave everything behind. So I don't believe we finished the Odette storyline. Yeah, we don't. That was it. Same with Bess. Oh yeah, Ace does go back to talk to the girl, the receptionist, and the receptionist knew what was up, but she still very much was like, look, if you don't have to, you could have just told me the truth. You didn't have to flirt with me. But Ace was like, I wasn't faking the flirting, which is like, something else might be happening, something else. Nancy then goes off back to her house. She greets the 4 farewell, as the girl is still opening up the possibility of having those girls at the other volleyball members as her friends, but she's not going to pursue volleyball. She's going to try and figure out her own thing. Anyway, moving onwards, Nancy's also about to consider, yeah, I'm going to apply for Columbia. I'm going to go back. I'm going to see what could happen if she could do this. At least do the online classes, which honestly during this pandemic, it's like, oh my God, that's speaking louds and louds a lot longer. But it turns out when she's filling out the application, they ask for her last name. So we still don't know. Is she going to be classified still as Drew or as a Hudson? We still need to figure that out. That's still a question for another week. But also, to wrap up this episode, also while Ace is talking to the girl and trying to, like, maybe go somewhere with her, another man just shows up requesting a room. And he also asks the reception as well as Ace, like, do you know this woman? She's my wife. She's been missing. We look at the phone, and it's freaking Bess. So, oh my God, next week's going to be awesome. And, you know, it was like, what more Bess's story we don't know, because we don't know much about Bess in, like, her pre-Horseshoe Bay days. So we don't know a lot. So that's going to be really, really interesting. But I'm trying to remember, was there another story? Another was, I was thinking of another show. And yeah, that's going to do it for this. That was it for that episode. So overall, sorry for the background though, that's on my end. I really did enjoy this episode. I was kind of low-key hoping for it to be just an old-fashioned mystery. It wasn't. But then again, I did like the way, like the messaging with the whole trying to figure out who you are when you're 19 and trying to figure out things as you go, and that the whole the George and Odette thing is going to be a very interesting dynamic to play in the future weeks as we get closer to that. I'm very happy that Ace is starting to get like his own romantic interest aside, and we're starting to see a little bit more of Ace's world, which I'm very happy for. I'm always a supporter of Ace. I still want that Ace episode, so please listen out to me, Drew Writers. Give me that freaking episode. I'm very curious to see where the Ryan storyline goes this season, considering the fact that this season he's not really associated much with Nancy. I think he's more focused on fixing himself as an identity, and hopefully down the line, him and Nancy will have some sort of decent foundation to build an actual father-daughter relationship. But we'll see. And Nancy with the whole is she a Drew or Hudson thing, that's going to be a very it'll be an eye turner. I do believe she'll still end up being a Drew because the whole show's called Nancy Drew, so I don't think she'll be Nancy Hudson anytime soon. And yeah, so overall I'm going to give this episode 2 thumbs up because one hand is holding the camera, so I really can't do my whole thumbs up. And I think that's going to do it for me this week. So if you're unaware, this has been What's in the Tube from Action X, reviewing every episode of the 2nd season of Nancy Drew. This is normally not our normal conditions. We will be back next week and are back in my chair, back on my TV, back on our usual format. We will be back, don't worry. I apologize if this episode was a little bit later into the day. We will be back on our regular scheduled times on Thursday mornings on Action X. So if you're unaware of this, if you want to know what we're doing overall, What's in the Tube besides our Nancy Drew Season 2 episode reviews, we're doing Walker episode reviews each and every Friday morning after a brand new episode on Thursday nights on the CW, or free the next day on the CW app and CW.com. I will currently be exploring that option as tomorrow's episode of What's in the Tube, which will be the Walker episode 6 review. That will be the same format as this week. So, yeah, sorry, that's the best I can do, but after that, we'll be back to normal. We're also doing Rookie Season 3 episode reviews each and every Monday mornings after a brand new episode on Sunday nights on ABC, or then next day on Hulu. Rookie's currently on a little bit of a hiatus. Not a little bit, a lot. We'll be back at the end of the month. We'll be doing some quick impressions from now and then on the Monday time slot. I don't know what I'm doing because I'm still not home right now. I don't know what the schedule is right now, but don't worry, there will be an on-time What's in the Tube episode on Monday, back in our normal format. But if you're going to cover Nancy Drew, you're in luck. We'll be back next week for the next episode, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, again, if you really like what I've been talking about, even though this is like a very different style than I'm normally doing, you can catch it every Thursday. But please subscribe to Action X on YouTube.com. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live for Nancy Drew, which is each and every Thursday morning. This is normally not the style. Also, I just remembered I'm in portrait mode. I had to do this. Whoops. So the YouTube video comes out differently. I'm very sorry that I completely fucked up. I'll do that better for the Walker review tomorrow. And what else? Yeah. Oh, like, favorite, share this review if you want to. But it does help us out to get us out to other people who haven't yet to discover us. Helps the algorithm, as well as it's for free. Follow us on social media to be up to date. Follow us on Twitch. And for you members of the Drew crew, I'll see you all next week on our normal setup. Also, also I wore a hat because my hair is a mess. I didn't feel like combing my hair today. I'll see you all next week. Until then, stay safe out there. Be good to each other, and peace out.